Be yourself, everyone else is already taken. To live is the rarest thing in the world. Most people exist, that is all. Always forgive your enemies, nothing annoys them so much. I am so clever that sometimes I don't understand a single word of what I am saying. We are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars. If one cannot enjoy reading a book over and over again, there is no use in reading it at all. It is what you read when you don't have to that determines what you will be when you can't help it. The books that the world calls immoral are books that show the world its own shame. The truth is rarely pure and never simple. Yes, I am a dreamer. For a dreamer is one who can only find his way by moonlight, and his punishment is that he sees the dawn before the rest of the world. You can never be overdressed or overeducated. Never love anyone who treats you like you're ordinary. Most people are other people. Their thoughts are someone else's opinions, their lives a mimicry, their passions a quotation. A good friend will always stab you in the front. You will always be fond of me. I represent to you all the sins you never had the courage to commit. Women are meant to be loved, not to be understood. I don't want to go to heaven. None of my friends are there. Anyone who lives within their means suffers from a lack of imagination. Every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future. I am not young enough to know everything. Experience is merely the name men gave to their mistakes. A thing is not necessarily true because a man dies for it. Hearts are made to be broken. You don't love someone for their looks, or their clothes, or for their fancy car, but because they sing a song only you can hear. The very essence of romance is uncertainty. Everything in the world is about sex except sex. Sex is about power. Those who find ugly meanings in beautiful things are corrupt without being charming. This is a fault. Those who find beautiful meanings in beautiful things are the cultivated. For these there is hope. They are the elect to whom beautiful things mean only beauty. There is no such thing as a moral or an immoral book. Books are well written, or badly written. That is all. Man is least himself when he talks in his own person. Give him a mask, and he will tell you the truth. I think God, in creating man, somewhat overestimated his ability. I never travel without my diary. One should always have something sensational to read in the train. With freedom, flowers, books, and the moon, who could not be perfectly happy? Death must be so beautiful. To lie in the soft brown earth, with the grasses waving above one's head, and listen to silence. To have no yesterday, and no tomorrow. To forget time, to forgive life, to be at peace. To define is to limit. Some cause happiness wherever they go, others whenever they go. I don't want to be at the mercy of my emotions. I want to use them, to enjoy them, and to dominate them. Nowadays people know the price of everything and the value of nothing. Education is an admirable thing, but it is well to remember from time to time that nothing that is worth knowing can be taught. I can resist anything except temptation. A cynic is a man who knows the price of everything, and the value of nothing. All women become like their mothers. That is their tragedy. No man does, and that is his. The only way to get rid of temptation is to yield to it. I am too fond of reading books to care to write them. There is only one thing in the world worse than being talked about, and that is not being talked about. Behind every exquisite thing that existed, there was something tragic. To love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance. It is absurd to divide people into good and bad. People are either charming or tedious. Quotation is a serviceable substitute for wit. Who, being loved, is poor. Children begin by loving their parents. As they grow older they judge them, sometimes they forgive them. Crying is for plain women. Pretty women go shopping. I have the simplest tastes. I am always satisfied with the best. Selfishness is not living as one wishes to live, it is asking others to live as one wishes to live. When one is in love, one always begins by deceiving oneself, and one always ends by deceiving others. That is what the world calls a romance. We are each our own devil, and we make this world our hell. I have nothing to declare except my genius. Anybody can sympathize with the sufferings of a friend, but it requires a very fine nature to sympathize with a friend's success. A man's face is his autobiography. A woman's face is her work of fiction. Never marry at all, Dorian. Men marry because they are tired, women, because they are curious, both are disappointed. Fashion is a form of ugliness so intolerable that we have to alter it every 6 months. What of art? It is a malady. Love? An illusion. Religion? The fashionable substitute for belief. You are a skeptic. Never. Skepticism is the beginning of faith. What are you? To define is to limit. Whenever people agree with me I always feel I must be wrong. No good deed goes unpunished. After a good dinner one can forgive anybody, even one's own relations. Morality is simply the attitude we adopt towards people we personally dislike. Life is far too important a thing ever to talk seriously about. Yet each man kills the thing he loves by each let this be heard, some do it with a bitter look, some with a flattering word, the coward does it with a kiss, the brave man with a sword. Some things are more precious because they don't last long. I like men who have a future and women who have a past. The world is a stage and the play is badly cast. To lose one parent, Mr. Worthing, may be regarded as a misfortune, to lose both looks like carelessness. We live in an age when unnecessary things are our only necessities. Art is the only serious thing in the world. And the artist is the only person who is never serious. I choose my friends for their good looks, my acquaintances for their good characters, and my enemies for their good intellects. Every woman is a rebel. Only dull people are brilliant at breakfast. Humanity takes itself too seriously. It is the world's original sin. If the cavemen had known how to laugh, history would have been different. Live the wonderful life that is in you. Let nothing be lost upon you. Be always searching for new sensations. Be afraid of nothing. To get back my youth I would do anything in the world, except take exercise, get up early, or be respectable. A bore is someone who deprives you of solitude without providing you with company. Nowadays most people die of a sort of creeping common sense, and discover when it is too late that the only things one never regrets are one's mistakes. Nothing can cure the soul but the senses, just as nothing can cure the senses but the soul. There are only two kinds of people who are really fascinating, people who know absolutely everything, and people who know absolutely nothing. Words. Mere words. How terrible they were. How clear, and vivid, and cruel. One could not escape from them. And yet what a subtle magic there was in them. They seemed to be able to give a plastic form to formless things, and to have a music of their own as sweet as that of viol or of lute. Mere words. Was there anything so real as words? How can a woman be expected to be happy with a man who insists on treating her as if she were a perfectly normal human being? Everything in moderation, including moderation. Every portrait that is painted with feeling is a portrait of the artist, not of the sitter. If you are not long, I will wait for you all my life. The world is changed because you are made of ivory and gold. The curves of your lips rewrite history. The suspense is terrible. I hope it will last. There are moments when one has to choose between living one's own life, fully, entirely, completely, or dragging out some false, shallow, degrading existence that the world in its hypocrisy demands. America is the only country that went from barbarism to decadence without civilization in between. The public have an insatiable curiosity to know everything, except what is worth knowing. Society often forgives the criminal, it never forgives the dreamer. An idea that is not dangerous is unworthy of being called an idea at all. I may not agree with you, but I will defend to the death your right to make an ass of yourself. There is no sin except stupidity. Laughter is not at all a bad beginning for a friendship, and it is by far the best ending for one. There is no such thing as a moral or an immoral book. Books are well written, or badly written. That is all. Men always want to be a woman's first love. That is their clumsy vanity. We women have a more subtle instinct about these things. What, women, like is to be a man's last romance. Paradoxically though it may seem, it is nonetheless true that life imitates art far more than art imitates life. Indeed, I have always been of the opinion that hard work is simply the refuge of people who have nothing to do. Life is too short to learn German. The nicest feeling in the world is to do a good deed anonymously and have somebody find out. One should never trust a woman who tells one her real age. A woman who would tell one that would tell one anything. I have grown to love secrecy. It seems to be the one thing that can make modern life mysterious or marvelous to us. The commonest thing is delightful if only one hides it. I always pass on good advice. It is the only thing to do with it. It is never of any use to oneself. Whenever a man does a thoroughly stupid thing, it is always from the noblest motives. Women have a much better time than men in this world. There are far more things forbidden to them. The good ended happily, and the bad unhappily. That is what fiction means. The basis of optimism is sheer terror. It takes great deal of courage to see the world in all its tainted glory, and still to love it. There are many things that we would throw away if we were not afraid that others might pick them up. You must have a cigarette. A cigarette is the perfect type of a perfect pleasure. It is exquisite, and it leaves one unsatisfied. What more can one want? They've promised that dreams can come true, but forgot to mention that nightmares are dreams, too. Yes, death. Death must be so beautiful. To lie in the soft brown earth, with the grasses waving above one's head, and listen to silence. To have no yesterday, and no tomorrow. To forget time, to forget life, to be at peace. You can help me. You can open for me the portals of death's house, for love is always with you, and love is stronger than death is. Death must be so beautiful. To lie in the soft brown earth, with the grasses waving above one's head, and listen to silence. To have no yesterday, and no tomorrow. To forget time, to forgive life, to be at peace. In this world there are only two tragedies. One is not getting what one wants, and the other is getting it. She is all the great heroines of the world in one. She is more than an individual. I love her, and I must make her love me. I want to make Romeo jealous. I want the dead lovers of the world to hear our laughter, and grow sad. I want a breath of our passion to stir dust into consciousness, to wake their ashes into pain. The public is wonderfully tolerant. It forgives everything except genius. I am tired of myself tonight. I should like to be somebody else. Hear no evil, speak no evil, and you won't be invited to cocktail parties. I never put off till tomorrow what I can possibly do, the day after. A little sincerity is a dangerous thing, and a great deal of it is absolutely fatal. The mystery of love is greater than the mystery of death. There is a luxury in self-reproach. When we blame ourselves, we feel that no one else has a right to blame us. It is the confession, not the priest, that gives us absolution. A man can be happy with any woman as long as he does not love her. This wallpaper is dreadful, one of us will have to go. I knew nothing but shadows and I thought them to be real. One should always be in love. That's the reason one should never marry. He has no enemies, but is intensely disliked by his friends. If I am occasionally a little overdressed, I make up for it by being always immensely overeducated. All art is quite useless. Keep love in your heart. A life without it is like a sunless garden when the flowers are dead. The consciousness of loving and being loved brings a warmth and a richness to life that nothing else can bring. Music makes one feel so romantic, at least it always gets on one's nerves, which is the same thing nowadays. Men marry because they are tired, women, because they are curious, both are disappointed. I don't say we all ought to misbehave. But we ought to look as if we could. The most terrible thing about it is not that it breaks one's heart, hearts are made to be broken, but that it turns one's heart to stone. I like persons better than principles, and I like persons with no principles better than anything else in the world. Only the shallow know themselves. Always. That is a dreadful word. It makes me shudder when I hear it. Women are so fond of using it. They spoil every romance by trying to make it last forever. It is a meaningless word, too. The only difference between a caprice and a lifelong passion is that the caprice lasts a little longer. The world was my oyster but I used the wrong fork. I love acting. It is so much more real than life. Never regret thy fall, O Icarus of the fearless flight, for the greatest tragedy of them all is never to feel the burning light. Disobedience, in the eyes of anyone who has read history, is man's original virtue. It is through disobedience that progress has been made, through disobedience and through rebellion. I hope you have not been leading a double life, pretending to be wicked and being good all the time. That would be hypocrisy. One can always be kind to people about whom one cares nothing. You like everyone, that is to say, you are indifferent to everyone. Life is never fair, and perhaps it is a good thing for most of us that it is not. She is very clever, too clever for a woman. She lacks the indefinable charm of weakness. The aim of life is self-development. To realize one's nature perfectly, that is what each of us is here for. We women, as someone says, love with our ears, just as you men love with your eyes, if you ever love at all. Consistency is the hallmark of the unimaginative. I won't tell you that the world matters nothing, or the world's voice, or the voice of society. They matter a good deal. They matter far too much. But there are moments when one has to choose between living one's own life, fully, entirely, completely, or dragging out some false, shallow, degrading existence that the world in its hypocrisy demands. You have that moment now. Choose. Everything popular is wrong. No man is rich enough to buy back his past. Irony is wasted on the stupid. The only way to get rid of a temptation is to yield to it. Resist it, and your soul grows sick with longing for the things it has forbidden to itself, with desire for what its monstrous laws have made monstrous and unlawful. I don't like compliments, and I don't see why a man should think he is pleasing a woman enormously when he says to her a whole heap of things that he doesn't mean. The one charm about the past is that it is the past. It is only shallow people who do not judge by appearances. The true mystery of the world is the visible, not the invisible. Life has been your art. You have set yourself to music. Your days are your sonnets. Punctuality is the thief of time. I hate people who are not serious about meals. It is so shallow of them. She behaves as if she was beautiful. Most American women do. It is the secret of their charm. The reason we all like to think so well of others is that we are all afraid for ourselves. The basis of optimism is sheer terror. When the gods wish to punish us, they answer our prayers. When a woman marries again, it is because she detested her first husband. When a man marries again, it is because he adored his first wife. Women try their luck, men risk theirs. Between men and women there is no friendship possible. There is passion, enmity, worship, love, but no friendship. They get up early, because they have so much to do, and go to bed early, because they have so little to think about. Friendship is far more tragic than love. It lasts longer. A man who does not think for himself does not think at all. One should always play fairly when one has the winning cards. Work is the curse of the drinking classes. I really don't see anything romantic in proposing. It is very romantic to be in love. But there is nothing romantic about a definite proposal. Why, one may be accepted. One usually is, I believe. Then the excitement is all over. The very essence of romance is uncertainty. If ever I get married, I'll certainly try to forget the fact. Deceiving others. That is what the world calls a romance. I adore simple pleasures. They are the last refuge of the complex. Some things are too important to be taken seriously. Hearts live by being wounded. I love to talk about nothing. It's the only thing I know anything about. One has a right to judge a man by the effect he has over his friends. The strength of women comes from the fact that psychology cannot explain us. Men can be analyzed, women, merely adored. In old days books were written by men of letters and read by the public. Nowadays books are written by the public and read by nobody. To regret one's own experiences is to arrest one's own development. To deny one's own experiences is to put a lie into the lips of one's own life. It is no less than a denial of the soul. After the first glass, you see things as you wish they were. After the second, you see things as they are not. Finally, you see things as they really are, and that is the most horrible thing in the world. In matters of grave importance, style, not sincerity, is the vital thing. There is always something ridiculous about the emotions of people whom one has ceased to love. Misfortunes one can endure, they come from outside, they are accidents. But to suffer for one's own faults, there is the sting of life. It is only shallow people who require years to get rid of an emotion. A man who is master of himself can end a sorrow as easily as he can invent a pleasure. I don't want to be at the mercy of my emotions. I want to use them, to enjoy them, and to dominate them. It takes great courage to see the world in all its tainted glory, and still to love it. And even more courage to see it in the one you love. A flower blossoms for its own joy. Ordinary riches can be stolen, real riches cannot. In your soul are infinitely precious things that cannot be taken from you. I have no objection to anyone's sex life as long as they don't practice it in the street and frighten the horses. Life is not complex. We are complex. Life is simple, and the simple thing is the right thing. A pessimist is somebody who complains about the noise when opportunity knocks. Man is many things, but he is not rational. I am sick to death of cleverness. Everybody is clever nowadays. It is perfectly monstrous, he said, at last, the way people go about nowadays saying things against one behind one's back that are absolutely and entirely true. Popularity is the one insult I have never suffered. When I like people immensely, I never tell their names to anyone. It is like surrendering a part of them. I have grown to love secrecy. Nothing that is worth knowing can be taught.